Well, today we're concluding our stewardship series, and we're focusing on the gift of time. And I preached this a couple weeks ago at the East Campus, and on Saturday night, Pastor April had a wedding, and she asked me if I wanted to, come sit in on her wedding, and I said, no, I got to edit my sermon because it's a little long and I'm preaching on time, so I don't think that would be quite appropriate. She thought it was pretty funny. And as I was going through it, I couldn't help but think about who comprises our Saturday night worship service. And we used to have a gentleman by the name of Denny Clanton who's passed away. And Denny would be sitting at the chair at the end of the hallway before worship, just kind of meeting and greeting everybody. And he had an oxygen mask on and everything. And he'd hear me coming down the hall, and he'd look around the corner, and he'd say, "Oh, no, it's Tyler. We got to go. It's going to be way too long." And he had a habit. While I was preaching, he would actually reach up and go like this while I'm preaching. So, he's always kind of pulling my leg or joking, or at least I thought he was pulling my leg and joking. I don't know, maybe not. And so within that context, I kind of thought, am I really the right pastor to be preaching about time and time management and how to use and steward this gift of time, because I have this horrible habit of always saying yes to things. And I never take anything off my plate. I always add more and more and more, and it just kind of gets more and more out of control. Yes? Okay, I got 3 other people that are honest and are telling me that. This is a big problem. And clearly it's a problem that I don't just have by myself, because I got on Amazon.com and I typed in the search little area, time management, and 88,574 resources popped up as things we can use to help us in this problem of how to steward and manage our time. And the number one item that came up, I want to share it with you. It's called Manage Your Day-to-Day, Build Your Routine, Find Your Focus, and Sharpen Your Creative Mind by Jocelyn K. Glee. Here's the description. Are you overextended, overdistracted, and overwhelmed? Do you work at a breakneck pace all day long and find that you haven't accomplished the most important things on your agenda when you leave the office? The world has changed, and the way we work has changed too. With wisdom from 20 leading creative minds, Manage Your Day-to-Day will give you a toolkit for tackling the new challenges of, get this, a 24/7, always-on workplace. Sound like a good book? Yeah, along with the other 88,573 works that you can get on time management from Amazon.com. This is an issue. This is a problem. This is a frustration that a lot of us have in a very pragmatic kind of way. Last year, I was privileged to preach on time as well. Do you remember that sermon? I had a video of Harry Chapin and Cats on a Cradle, and he talked about how he wanted to spend more time with his son, and he ended up dying in an automobile accident before he could fulfill that pledge. Other musicians have pondered time as well. I'm going to date myself again, another favorite artist that I have that had a great song about time was Jim Croce. What was his song? Time in a Bottle. See, a bunch of other old people are here too. Time in a Bottle. And there's a refrain in that song that goes like this: but there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you find them. Even more contemporary, Hootie and the Blowfish wrote a song on time, and here's their refrain. Time is wasting, time is walking, you ain't no friend of mine. I don't know where I'm going. I think I'm out of my mind thinking about time. And to show you how much I love you guys, I found a country western song that talks about time. Kenny Chesney in a song called Don't Blink. So good, I want to read all the lyrics to you. I turned on the evening news. I saw an old man being interviewed, turning 102 today. Asked him, what's the secret to life? He looked up from his old pipe, laughed, and said, all I can say is, don't blink. Just like that, you're 6 years old, you take a nap, you wake up, you're 25, your high school sweetheart is now your wife. Don't blink. You just might miss your babies growing like mine did, turning into moms and dads, and next thing you know, your better half of 50 years is there in bed, and you're praying God take you instead. Trust me, friend, 100 years goes faster than you think, so don't blink. I was glued to my TV. It looked like he was looking at me and said, best start putting first things first, because when your hourglass runs out of sand, you can't flip it over and start again. Take every breath that God gives you for what it's worth. He said, I've been trying to slow it down. I've been trying to take it in this here today, gone tomorrow world we're living in. Now don't blink. You see, all these singers are mourning the fact that it just doesn't seem like there is enough time in life, that we just don't have enough time. And there's this latent anxiety and desire within us that we want more time, right? Kenny Chesney is warning us to stay awake in life, to pay attention in life. It's kind of like Jesus when he talked about the 10 virgins, and half of them were wise and half of them were foolish. And the foolish ones were not prepared for a delay, and the wise ones were prepared for the delay as they were waiting for the bridegroom to come. You know, just like those 10 young virgins, we don't know how much time we have, right? We don't know. We don't know how long traffic is going to take as we're trying to get down Dodge Street, right? We don't know how long the checkout lines are going to take at Walmart. We don't know how long our health is going to hold out. We don't know how long our lives are going to be. We don't know how long until the Lord's return. We just don't know. And this time management thing's been around a long time, all the way back to Jesus. It seems like a common problem in difficulty in choosing how to use our time. And we even have different perspectives on time, right? When I used to take teams down to Mexico, we would say, well, how long is this going to be until we go do this thing? And we always said, I don't have anybody that went with me. That's how long ago it's been. We would say 20 minutes. And 20 minutes could mean it's going to be happening in 5 minutes. It could be 20 minutes. It might be in a couple hours. It could be next week. We just said 20 minutes. We'd all smile and nod, and we understood each other, right? The Sudanese operate in a different time. I've talked to you guys about this before. I mean, tonight, I wish all of you would come and help me lock up the East Campus after their event is over. I've been told it's going to end at 9. I'm going to go there at 11, and I will discover that they are just starting to think about possibly wrapping up the event, right? And I talked to a good friend of mine who's from Ethiopia by the name of Tefa Gobina, and I was joking about it, saying, they just don't get our time. And Tefa, this wise sage of a man, said this, and listen to this. He said, you in America operate on clock time. For you, the event is over when the clock says it's over. For all of us in Africa, we operate on event time. And the event starts and the event ends when the event starts and when the event ends. I mean, it's totally different way of thinking. So how do we, as Christians, whether we're Mexican, Sudanese, or Americans, how do we deal with this issue of time? Well, I went to Amazon.com, I typed in Christian time management, and I got 866 hits. And the top hit that I thought that I would find, I didn't find. As a matter of fact, the one that I thought would be the number one hit wasn't even listed in the 866 options. Do you know what book I was looking for? The Bible. The Bible wasn't even mentioned as a place for Christians to go to figure out how to analyze time. That's sad. Because I think the Bible is where we go as Christians to find out most of what we do. And we need to have this as our understanding. That as a Christian, the issue of time management should be a spiritual one, not a pragmatic one, rooted in biblical stewardship. This is what I mean. Every second of our lives is a gift. It's a gift to be cherished, to be used as a gift, to be managed as the gifter intended. We've already learned that God has given us all of our possessions, God has given us all of our talents, but God has given us every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every year of our life. We shouldn't complain about the time that we have been given, whether we think it's too long or too short, but rather we should pray about how we are to use the God-given time that we do have. That passage from James chapter 4 says this, "Look here, you who say today or tomorrow, we're going to go to a certain town, we'll stay there a year, we're going to do business, and we're going to make a big profit." How do you know? How do you know what your life's going to be like tomorrow? Your life's like a fog. It's here a little while and then it's gone. What you ought to say is this: if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that. It's an issue of faith. Otherwise, James says, you're boasting about your own plans, and all such boasting is evil. Remember, he says that it is sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. It's a sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. So what do we ought to do? What do we do? St. Paul, I think, summarizes it in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15. He says this, "Rather, speaking the truth in love." In other words, he's saying, I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you. We are to grow up. We are to be mature. We're not to be childish anymore, but we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ. So our purpose is to become mature in Christ. Now, listen to what our culture teaches us about time, because it's extraordinarily different, right? Most Americans, I think, believe that our main purpose in life is to be happy and to be successful. And we listen to commercials like this that say, grab all the gusto you can because you only go around once in life, right? The world demands our time, demands our focus, for our time to be elsewhere than God, demands that we literally run our spiritual lamps empty. Do you recall who those people were? They're the foolish ones, right? In contrast, listen to what the Bible says. The Bible never ever says that Jesus rushed around anywhere. He's usually busy, usually doing something, but he found time to pray a lot. He was usually busy, but he found time to pray a lot. His total ministry, accomplished in 3 short years, right? Pretty fast, but he found time to play with children. He found time to investigate a fig tree. Found time to take a nap during a boat ride while a storm was going on. He found time to rest at noontime beside a well and then carry on a conversation with a lady. He found time to go to a wedding reception. The Bible does not say, if you hurry, you can catch up to God. What does the Bible say? Well, in Psalm 46, we hear something extraordinarily different. It says, be still. Stop the craziness and know that I am God. Jesus didn't say, if you join up with me, I'll work you 18 hours a day. Jesus said, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. Christ died on the cross, and through faith in Him, we are brought into a unique reality of salvation, but we are brought into a unique reality of time. The time in our life is tied to eternity and never ends. So the biggest issue is not how to organize or plan our time. Our biggest issue is to spiritually recognize that we need God's wisdom so that we can live lives that are rich in our relationship with God and meaningful in service for God to others while on this earth. Jesus made an interesting statement about priorities. It's in John chapter 15, verse 2. He's talking about a grapevine. He was talking about a grapevine, but he really had us in mind. And what he wanted us to learn was that in a grapevine, you need to prune the branch. You need to prune that branch back, because if you don't, it's going to quit bearing fruit. So you need to prune that branch back so that it will bear fruit. And he's talking about us. This principle applies to people. Pruning activities, right? And pruning commitments helps you become even more productive and creative. It sounds like the opposite, but it really isn't, right? Most of us are spread too thin because we hate to make the tough choices and sometimes say no because people might not like us. And so our lives end up looking like this. Throw that slide up. Look at this. Ever feel like your life is like that, right? No margins, no spaces, no punctuation, no purpose, just words all over the place and things spread all over the place and trying to fill every single jot and tittle of our lives, right? Go to the next slide. This is the same thing with space, with punctuation. God is saying, stop the craziness. Prune some of the stuff in your life. And I hate to say this, but some of the stuff might be church stuff that you got to prune so that your life has meaning and purpose and is fulfilled in your relationship with God. This is how this gets played out. Journalist Russell Chandler reported some statistics to indicate that many teenagers spend an average of less than 30 minutes a week in a meaningful relationship with their mothers. 30 minutes. Less than 30 minutes of meaningful time a week with their mother. You ready, dads? Gets worse. And less than 15 minutes a week of a meaningful relationship with their fathers. That's absurd when you think about it. I mean, that's crazy that we order our lives like that. Parenting experts tell us that we should not be deluded into thinking that kids don't notice when we choose not to spend time with them. There was a study of 2,400 fifth graders, and that indicated this, that one thing they found the most upsetting, these fifth graders found the most upsetting, wasn't that they didn't have enough time with their parents. What upset them the most was that, this really tore the kids up, that they recognized that their parents were making choices of doing other things than spending time with them. It wasn't that they didn't have enough time, it was they could see the choices that were being made, and it wounded them deeply. So ask yourself this, what messages am I sending to others about the importance of them in my life by the way I spend my time? And what about God? Are we so caught up in doing for God that we forget to be with God? Micah chapter 6, we hear this. He has told you, O man, what's good. What does the Lord require of you but this? To do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God, to spend time with your God. And we can tell ourselves, I don't have time for God. I got all this other stuff I got to do. I got to do all this other stuff. I got to just get it done first. If I get that stuff done first, then I'll give whatever's left over to God. If I can find a 5 minutes to pray to God at the end of the day before I fall asleep, that's what the Lord's going to have to, exist with. We can tell ourselves we don't have time, that other things are more important, but we got to get them done first. But it creates a huge damage within us. The guy that our denomination's named after, you know how he handled this? Get ready for this. He said this, here's a quote, "I have so much to do today. My life is so busy, so crazy, out of control today, that instead of spending the first hour in prayer of my day, I'm going to have to spend the first 3 hours in prayer." You hear that? Luther said, I am so busy with what I got to do today that I'm going to have to spend 3 hours in prayer today instead of 1 hour. Why? Because he said if I don't do that, I'm going to be just totally out of control. And my focus is going to be all out of whack. I need to spend more time with God to prepare me for this crazy day that I have in front of me. And then he goes on to say this. Here's a quote. He says, the prince should think Christ is certain. Now I'm going to stop. We don't have princes. I'm going to modernize this. So this is the Tyler modernization of the Luther quote. The politician should think, Christ has served me and made everything to follow him. Therefore, I also ought to serve my neighbor, protect him, and everything that belongs to him. That's why God gave me this office, that I have to use it, that I might serve Him. Now that would be a good politician and legislator, yes? Huh? Kind of refreshing, right? The politician sees his neighbor oppressed, and he should think, that concerns me. I must protect and shield my neighbor. The same truth is for the shoemaker, the tailor, the scribe, the reader, the computer programmer, the plumber, the garbage collector, the attorney, the PMA, the retired person. God asked me to make these clothes, says the tailor, because God has bid me to do so that I can earn a living, so that I can help and serve my neighbor. When a Christian does not serve another, Luther says, God is not present. That is not Christian living. So how do we purpose our time? Well, maybe we could follow the example of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Maybe we could follow the example of our denominational namesake and theologian, Martin Luther, and spend time in prayer. Here's a petition you might consider. Lord, what are you directing me to do with the time that you have gifted me with? Lord, what do you want me to do with the time that you have given me? And it's already beginning to happen. But I want it to continue, for us to continue that focus in the craziness of the world and the demands of the world, to focus on our time with God. And amazing things happen. You know, last year we gathered together Thanksgiving bags, and we just raised a crazy number of Thanksgiving bags, 250 bags, and so we thought, well, let's try to do that again this year. And the Lord placed it upon your heart, and you blew right through 250 bags, and we gathered 340 bags to help families in the Omaha area have a joyful Thanksgiving. We're gathering for Project Angel Tree right now, and last week I think there were 6 angels out there on the tree, and these are gifts that we buy, and our name is not attached to them. The kids believe that their parents are the ones who got them these gifts, the parents who were incarcerated in jail, who made some really bad choices that are now affecting the kids. We anonymously give these gifts, and I just asked Jean, do we have enough? Because I know we were on the verge of running out, and she said, we got 19 more families, so we have greater opportunity to respond to this incredible need. And it's so simple to do. While you're out buying your Christmas gifts for your family, just buy the ones that are on this list, right? We got Thanksgiving Eve coming up, where we're gathering non-perishable food items, canned items, boxed items to help refill the Omaha pantry here. You know, that's an easy thing to do while you're shopping for your Thanksgiving meal. Instead of buying one can of beans, grab a second can of beans and bring it as an offering. Can make just such a huge difference with just that faithful, Christ-centered use of time. We have an issue. What do we do with the time we've been given? We don't know how much we have, and it doesn't matter. Because our call is to steward what we've been given, whether a lot or a little, to respond faithfully to God's call, to use this gift of time as He directs us.